Hi there, this is French Vinyl coming up on another video. Actually, today's one is in reply to a Noble Records challenge. A couple of days ago we posted a video on his channel asking the people if we can take up a challenge, creating a sort of a 20 album chain and explain why those albums are linked together. So this is my attempt. Let's go. First one would be Family, Enternainment, a British group with Roger Shopman on vocals. They had a violin player called Rick Gretsch, and he left the band when they were about to start their US tour. So Rick Gretsch left the band and joined Blind Faith, consisting of Ginger Baker, Stevie Winwood, Eric Clapton, and Rick Gretsch. So yeah, Ginger Baker helped Paul McCartney when he was about to start the record session of Band on the Run. In Lagos, Nigeria, Ginger Baker had a couple of projects in Africa. So McCartney went to Lagos, Nigeria, and the studio wasn't really up to scratch. So Ginger Baker offered Paul McCartney and the band to start a couple of record sessions in his studio in Lagos. So Paul McCartney used to play in the Beatles. This is the White Album. On While My Guitar Gently Weeps played Eric Clapton, as you know. Eric Clapton, we used to be in Cream, power trio, supergroup with Ginger Baker on drums, Jack Bruce on bass guitar. Eric Clapton also played a couple of tunes on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. And Peter Frampton did also a couple of numbers on that album. So Peter Frampton is the next album. Peter Frampton Comes Alive, one of the top-selling live album of all time. So before doing his solo career, Peter Frampton used to be in the band called Humble Pie with Steve Marriott. This is Humble Pie, a really good live album. And on that album played Greg Ridley. Greg Ridley was a bass player who also played with Spooky Tooth on that album, Spooky 2. And the guitar player Luther Grobner used to be in Mott the Hoople. So, and this band was famous because they did a cover version of All the Young Dudes, originally written by David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. So one of the greatest album he ever made. And he had a bandmate, Mick Ronson, so they did a couple of albums together. Mick Ronson had a couple of solo albums. I don't have that, so I will just put a picture on the screen. And The Man Who Sold the World as well. On that album, The Man Who Sold the World, Tony Visconti used to be producer, used to play a couple of parts, piano, bass guitar as well. And Tony Visconti also produced that album, that band, T.Rex, Electric Warrior. And the same Tony Visconti had that project involving a lot of musicians with Rick Wakeman. So Rick Wakeman did a keyboard, so joined the band Yes on the Fragile album 1971. And the same Rick Wakeman helped the band Black Sabbath on that album. He actually played a couple of tracks on that album. Black Sabbath had a lot of singers, so Ozzy Osbourne, of course, and Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie James Dio, who used to be in Rainbow. Richie Blackmore, Rainbow. And Richie Blackmore, prior Rainbow's project, he was, of course, in a band called Deep Purple. Deep Purple, maybe one of the greatest albums they ever made. Machine Head. Producer was Martin Birch, who was the producer of another heavy metal band a few years later called Iron Maiden. Martin Birch used to be the producer on that album too, which is the final album, the 20th of the series. So let me know, what do you think? Stay tuned for the next chapter.